Waumini Soul Food, and I'm Victor Salamba. This very wonderful 21st day of August, day of the Lord 2020. And I said, dear listener, before I went to the break, that we are talking about the 7 deadly sins in a relationship. 7 deadly sins in a relationship. Why am I calling them the 7 deadly sins of a relationship? It's good to understand something which is fundamentally important for all types of relationships. But specifically, I'm talking about marriages here and relationships leading towards marriage, is that I personally believe that every relationship can be fought for. I personally believe that every relationship can be fought for, and I personally believe that every relationship can be salvaged. But I make an exception. That's where my reflection is coming in. I make an exception. My exception is this, is that there's some particular lines that when they are crossed, it becomes almost impossible for people to find their way back. Now listen to me very, very, very carefully, because I've seen this mistake happening so many times, whereby I've seen a couple go through so many things. They cut each other so badly. Then when they come to my office, I tell them the only thing that looks possible here is forgiveness. Reconciliation is a different discussion, because in not all situations and circumstances does forgiveness mean reconciliation. It is good to understand this, my dear friends. Therefore, when I say that, yes, every relationship is worth fighting for and worth saving, there's an exception. But there's some things that make the road back difficult. I've had couples in my office where someone says, Victor, this happened in my marriage. And yes, I want it to work. But what my partner did to me, I just can't go back to looking at them the way I used to. I can't go back seeing them the way I used to see them. Why? It's because they did something to me that was so bad that, yes, I can forgive them, but I can't bring myself back to how I felt about them. That's why I'm saying the 7 deadly sins in a relationship. This one that I'll mention here, dear listener, when they happen in a relationship, the road back is not impossible. But dear listener, it is a harder road back. It is one of the hardest roads you can ever be able to take back. The first one is this: cruelty to a child or children. Cruelty to a child or children. Now, this particular issue affects those who enter into what we call blended families, where a blended family is where one partner or both partners come with children from different relationships. Nothing can be so unforgiving to a person who has come with a child from a different relationship and you mistreat this child. You see, if me and my wife have a child together and I mistreat this child, we have a different battle. The battle is a bit different, because she'll have the question, na huu ni mtoto wako, why are you being this way? But if at all my wife came with a child from another relationship, or I came with a child from a different relationship, and we came together, dear listener, then one of us mistreats the child that I came with or she came with at that particular point, dear listener, that one is a deadly sin. The possibility of being forgiven is difficult. I have heard women saying, apana, vile alifanya mtoto wangu, apana, wacha tuachanie tu hapo, haifai. You have heard men saying, I never knew she was mistreating my daughter like this. But when I learned she was dealing with my daughter like this, Victor, I cannot. I can forgive her for it, but I cannot trust her again to stay with her. That I've seen happening, dear listener. So cruelty to a child or children, dear listener, can create a road that makes it impossible to come back. Number 2, this one is a bit tricky for a Friday morning. Inhuman sexual acts. Inhuman sexual acts. Now, there's something we call sexual perversion. Sexual perversion is when someone has gotten into sexual habits that are a bit queer. That's sexual perversion. But inhuman sexual acts, dear listener, are when someone does things that are humanly unacceptable and they are using them and they're doing them sexually. When you find in a relationship someone has been done for something that is inhumanly acceptable and a sexual act, that one, dear listener, violates the core of that person, and they can never forgive you for that. I'll give you an example. I've had people who are dating and someone says, I went to his house and I was raped. You see, that's an inhuman sexual act. There's no possibility of that relationship ever working in any way. And the time we talked about this with Father on the radio 2-3 years ago, about also the cases where women feel violated in their marriages. They are married, but they feel violated. And I've had women who said, from that night, my heart left that marriage. I am there because of the children, but that man, I'll never look at him the same. it happens. Acts also, dear listener, of sodomy that happen within marriages. I will not pretend like they're not there. I have cases in my office right now that I'm dealing with that have marriages and people who have gone through sodomy in their relationships. That, my dear friends, is an inhuman sexual act. Also using crazy and queer objects, for whatever kind of pleasure. That also in its own way, crude, let me call them crude objects. Yes. When an inhuman sexual act happens in a relationship and someone feels that their dignity has been lowered through their sexuality, that one makes the road back impossible. That's when a partner looks at the person and says, I thought I was married to a human being. Kumbe naishi na mnyama. And they pull out. That one, dear listener, is a deadly sin. Number 3, before I go on this break, insulting or physically fighting your partner's parents. Insulting or physically fighting your partner's parents. Please, I've done a reflection on surviving in-laws. If you have not gone to my page, check my page. You'll find it there, Victor Salamba. But I'm talking about insulting or fighting your partner's parents. Listen to this. You might have the worst in-laws God made, but there's a rule you don't break. You don't insult your in-laws, you don't fight your in-laws. I had a case in my office of this particular lady who went to fight her mother-in-law, to tell her mother-in-law that utaheshimu nyumba yangu, and fought her mother-in-law. And I asked her, after you fought your mother-in-law, can you really say nyumba yako? Because at that very moment, I told her, with your bare hands, you destroyed your marriage. I've had men who have insulted their mothers-in-law, their fathers-in-law, their in-laws. And the wife says, no, Victor, it's okay. I'll forgive him as the father of my children. But by virtue, he insulted my father. That is unforgivable. And I said, no matter how bad they are, you require wisdom. It is your partner to go to war with his people. Never go to war with your partner's people. It is your wife's business to defend you to her parents and her siblings. It is your business to defend your wife. It's your business as a man to defend your wife towards your siblings and your parents. But no matter how wicked they are, usitukane mama ya bwana yako ama mama ya bibi yako. Usitukane baba ya bwana yako ama baba ya bibi yako. That is a crime. This is Waumini Soul Food, and I'm Victor Salamba. This very wonderful Friday, the 21st day of August, dear listener, the year 2020. The year is going so fast. I think I'm also losing time in the process. I'm talking about the 7 deadly sins in a relationship. And I said before I went on this break, I said that it is important to look at this from different angles. That yes, every relationship can be saved. Every relationship is worth saving. That's a fact. But there are some lines we cross. But yes, people can be forgiven, but reconciliation becomes difficult. And that is the most important thing to discuss. That is reconciliation possible? And this is why I'm mentioning these things, that at times there are things you might do to your partner. And at that particular point when you do them, the reconciliation becomes a long way. And I've seen people living in that madness or illusion that it's going to be the same. No. There are lines when you cross, dear listener, it can't be the same. And that's why with a relationship with someone, you must think of the consequences every time when you choose to do something, especially something, dear listener, that will hurt them. You must be very keen. The next one is this, number 4, one of my personal favorites. Open or secret involvement in a cult, witchcraft, or devil worship. Cult, witchcraft, and devil worship. About 5 years ago, a lady walked into my office and we had a discussion about her marriage. And she mentioned something. She said, but Victor, my husband has a briefcase. And this briefcase, I've been told never to open it. If I open it, he said he will kill me. And so I thought the story ends there. So one day came, I found the briefcase was opened. So in my curiosity, I opened the briefcase. When she opened the briefcase, she said she found a human hand inside this briefcase. Now, the confusion she had was, she was told never to open the briefcase because if she opens the briefcase, kataumana. And now she has found a secret in the briefcase. And she thought if it's a human hand in this briefcase, automatically, mine can end up here. So she came to my office confused on what to do. And I told her, no. This one is a symbol because I know very well what that does. This one, your husband is involved in the occult. Your husband is involved in devil worship. And at that particular point, she told me, Victor, what do I do? Do I stay and fight or do I run? I don't know which one, where is your faith? What does your faith tell you? But it's a long battle. And so many times I can't stay with him in the same house because I can't sleep, knowing very well that this is where he is, it can't work. I know of men who have walked out of their marriages because their wives have joined cultic movements. And the cultic movements right now in Nairobi are very many, let's be honest. There are very many places where people go to pray in quotes, and funny things are happening there, you know. I've had all sorts of cases, people being anointed, the entire body with anointing oil. You wonder, was it a massage, was it prayer? You know, very many things have been happening that I've been seeing. And the moment you discover that your partner is involved in witchcraft, cultic things, or devil worship, it makes it impossible to sustain that relationship because you cannot live with someone who you are afraid might sacrifice you. That is impossible. And at times I said, you'd rather someone who, you know, in their own madness, they are drunkards, they're doing whatever they're doing, but at least they still believe in Jesus. Then you find someone who very neat, very clean, lakini pale anatembeanga usiku, where they go for prayer is a funny place. They walk in reverse, they are wearing funny clothes, they are drinking blood, they are doing all sorts of things. And the strangest thing is that very educated men and women are involved in cultic things in this city. That is the strangest thing I've found in this time that I've been doing my work. That the most educated human beings, a lady who's very educated, lakini pahali anaendanga, ile mapango anaenda, you can't believe it. Strange places. So the moment your partner knows this, or the moment you know about your partner, it is difficult. That is a line almost crossed. Because remember, religion forms the core of our values. Religion forms the core of our principles and our philosophies and how we live life. And if at all my religion is not based on what my partner believes, and I think what they're doing is wicked, staying with them is difficult. I've said it is difficult to stay with someone who you fear can sacrifice you. Hapo kuna shida. Number 5, attacking the personhood of your partner. Attacking the personhood of your partner. What does Victor mean? I've seen people going to war. Every marriage has conflict. And I've always taught this. You have never seen this again, go to my page, Victor Salamba, you'll find this. I talk about ways to fight. And I've always said I teach couples how to fight. Because when you go to war with your partner, you must understand something. You began as friends, you must finish as friends. That's the rule rules of getting into it. That I know that you're my friend. We are differing in opinion, but you're not my enemy. Now we are not at war, you know. So when you find that I'm attacking, when I say attacking the personhood of your partner, I mean this. I mean that you don't make it personal when you're in conflict. Don't make it personal when you're in conflict. Don't make it something that is not that you'll never come back from. What do I mean by attacking the personhood of your partner? Don't attack their body. Don't attack their parents. Don't attack where they came from. Don't attack their sexuality. Don't attack those things. Our personhood is external, connected internally. You can't make fun of your partner telling them how they have got bad legs, or they have got bad lips, or they have all these things. You talk those things, you attack their personhood and think you will survive. No. The personhood of a person is a physical thing attached to them internally. Even though someone loses weight, they're always conscious of the fact that they were overweight at some point. So you don't attack the personhood of your partner. The next point, number 6, dear listener, is this: same-sex affairs. Same-sex affairs. Yes. That one, I have dealt with those cases many times. It is one thing for your partner to have an affair. It's another thing for your partner to have a same-sex affair. It's the discovery that your partner is gay. That discovery, dear listener, is a worrying discovery. When you discover your partner is gay, there it becomes a tricky thing to manage that relationship. It becomes almost impossible. So it is important to note that that is a line that I've had many couples come to see me and they say, I discovered my wife was this way. I discovered my husband was this way. We have very many people now who are living those double lives. It is almost a deadly sin because the recovery process, personally, from my experience, from who I've seen people have been seeing, is a difficult road back. Because you married them not knowing. Now you've discovered that they are not interested in you. but they're interested to people of their own sex. That one, dear listener, is a difficult way back. And number 7, public humiliation. When you humiliate your partner in public, deliberately, maliciously, and consciously. Visitors have gathered in the house. That's when you want to insult your wife. That's when you want to call her names. That's when you want to say things about them. You want to tell people how they snore, how they're not clean, na watu wa kwa nyumba. When you publicly humiliate your partner, that one is almost impossible to recover. So, dear listener, it's important to note these things. I said every relationship can be fought for. But when you are with your partner, understand that there are some lines when you cross, it is making the journey to reconciliation even longer. It will make the journey to reconciliation even longer. I believe every relationship can be fought for. But these 7 points just to guide us, to understand that if at all I do anything, I must be very, very keen. Especially the one I mentioned about the personhood. Because personhood is the one people cross the most. You insult someone's tribe, someone's race, someone's weight, all those things. And you're just because you're differing about a spoon. Dear listener, let's be keen to ensure that the lines we don't cross, because we began as friends, we intend to finish the relationship with respect and sustained respect.